week we're going to be talking about text structure and author's purpose and perspective. This is just an informational screencast to go over what is text structure and what is author's purpose and perspective. Taking a look here, text structure. It refers to how the text is organized. For example, the text might present a main idea and then details, or a cause and then its effects, an effect and the causes, or two different views of a topic. Here I have a resource which you'll be able to click on after this screencast. It's a cute song and video. Okay. Cause and effect versus problem and solution. Many times, boys and girls, people get confused between cause and effect and problem and solution. When you read a story and how the author organized everything in the text, it can be very confusing. The difference between cause and effect and problem and solution is that the cause and effect are events that lead up to one another. So something happens and there's effects that ripple because of it. Where the problem and a solution, there's a clear problem and then there's a clear way the problem was solved and gives ways to fix the problem. Okay, so those can be very confusing. That's why it's very important to understand text structure of a text. So there's different type of text structures. If you look at graphic 1, there's description, which gives descriptive details and characteristics and actions. There's problem and solution, which sets up a problem and its solution, just like I just said. There's time order and chronological. First, second, then, next. When things are sequenced in a specific order, usually it's telling you specifically in an order of how things happened. Compare and contrast are looking at two different items and establishing their similarities or differences. And cause and effects. Cause and effect give a reason and then explains for something happening. Okay. Here's another two, a graphic 2. It gives you some of the signal words for each one, for description, problem solution, compare and contrast, cause and effect, and sequence. So each one has tips on things you can ask yourself. Graphic 3, literary and informational. In literary text, the structure is differently organized. It has, in literary text and fiction stories, it usually is by elements. It sets up plot, exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution, characters, the setting, and there's always a problem and solution, usually in a fictional story. But in nonfiction, you have to look and see how the author lists the details. Are they cause and effect? Are they step-by-step sequencing? Is there a clear problem and solution through that? Are they just describing or descriptively telling you about something? Or are they compare and contrasting two different things? And that's what some of the things you can look at as text structure. You need to use text structure in order to see how the author is conveying the information. Next, author's purpose and perspective. An author's purpose is the reason why and how the text was written. It could be the main purpose for the selection, or the author's reasons for including elements within the text. The author's perspective is how an author feels about the subject. Why is that important? When students can identify whether the importance for writing a text is to either inform, persuade, entertain, or describe, they're better equipped to evaluate its content as they make inferences and draw conclusions. So author's purpose, when you were younger, you probably remember the acronym PIE, persuade, inform, entertain. Okay, to determine an author's perspective, think about what the author is trying to do through the text. Are they entertaining you? Are they thinking about the character's thoughts and actions? If the purpose is to inform, are they giving you details that the author includes in the words he or she uses? Or persuade, are they trying to convince you to do something? Here's another graphic that gives you a little bit more of what they're trying to do. An author can entertain. They can make things funny, paint a picture, add suspense, feelings, fantasy, make characters seem real, or add surprises into a story. To inform, they're teaching us something new about a topic. There's interesting details. It gives you things like examples, numbers, dates. There's a lot of details. It gives you multiple modes of information. They can write it as an article, story, or a poem. And they can include pictures and other graphics to help you understand the information. And persuading, that makes something seem really important right now. It's trying to convince you through facts or details. Persuade, a little bit even argumentative. using some of those specific ways to do it, propaganda techniques, using someone famous to agree with him and her, giving us information only about one side of a story instead of two sides. When you hear one side, someone's trying to convince you of something. Or using power words such as amazing, free, new, instantly. Point of view. The author's now there's a difference between point of view and what perspective is. There's the author's point of view, and then there's an author's perspective. They're two different things. If the author's purpose is why behind the writing, the point of view is the who. Point of view tells us about who is sharing. So first person point of view, it's the I, using the word I. Second person point of view, you're talking about to someone, you're saying you're talking to them. There's two different kinds of third person. There's third person limited, where the story is about he or she, and it's usually about one person. Where third person omniscient, you're talking about another person, but it talks about many characters of a story. Looking at the graphic below, point of view really kind of gives you how it's laid out. First person, told by one of the characters, saying I. Second person, told by narrator, talking to the reader, usually the word you. Third person, a story told about the narrator. Okay, and you can see keywords down here. The third person is usually limited or omniscient. Limited, the narrator knows the thoughts of one character. It's limited to one character. Where omniscient, it's a story where multiple people, the author is conveying the ideas and thoughts of multiple people. Perspective is about how a character feels in the story. So point of view is who is talking in the story, but perspective is how they feel. Perspective requires inferences, and students have to look at a character's actions, reactions, and dialogue the way they talk to collect clues. Students have to determine how a character feels in a certain situation, or how the character feels about the conflict in the story. So it's really about feeling. And in this graphic, author's perspective, how the author feels about topics or beliefs. You kind of get the feeling of the mood and the tone throughout what the author is doing to really get an understanding, and even through the character's thoughts or feelings to understand how the author's trying to convey that. Sometimes you could tell if the author's for or against something, and here's ways you can identify it. You look at either a problem solution, the character's actions, character's feelings, or the language in the story and the way they speak. And that's it for today for text structure and author's purpose and perspective. Thank you.